Superficial listening often results in misinterpretation of a message. An individual's attitude also influences what is heard and how the message is interpreted. Active listening is necessary to pick up all three levels of meaning in a communication. We're going to continue with part 2 of the lesson of effective communication and conflict resolution. People tend to employ faulty thinking that affects the communication process, especially during high stress times. We're going to discuss some logical fallacies, and these are either related to culture, gender, background, and/or personal experiences, influential arguments that are based on flawed logic, barriers to the meaningful communication. Understanding logical fallacies help the nurse to recognize the difference between legitimate and faulty reasoning and promote effective communication. So we're going to discuss some types of logical fallacies, and these are ad hominem abusive. This is an attack on the person instead of the issue. What happens is the speaker hopes to discredit the other person by calling attention to some irrelevant fact about that person. Appeal to common practice. Something is okay because most people do it. This could lead to significant professional and legal problems. Then we have appeal to emotion. They attempt to manipulate other people's emotions to avoid the real issue. There is appeal to tradition. Doing things a certain way is best because it's always been done that way. Confusing cause and effect. It assumes that one event must cause another just because two events often occur together. Then we have hasty generalization. This is coming to a conclusion on the basis of a very small number of examples. Anyone hear the straw man? This is a person's position on a topic that is misrepresented. Then we have red herring. This is introduction of an irrelevant topic to divert attention away from the real issue. And I'm sure everyone's heard of the slippery slope. This is a belief that an event will inevitably follow another without any real support for that belief. Listening is also an important element for effective communication. First, I'm going to talk about some bad habits, and these are distractions to good listening. Framing an answer while the other person is still talking. Environmental disturbances that provide significant disruption. Pre-existing concerns or worries that block absorption of the conversation. Attempt to continue to work in progress that leads to inattention. And ineffective engagement or peculiar mannerisms. We want to form some good listening habits, and we can do this by giving undivided attention to the sender. Move to a quieter area. Stop the speaker and clarify points that are not understood. Provide feedback in terms of perceived meaning of the message, rephrased in the receiver's own words. Give attention to positioning so that the sender and the receiver are facing each other and are able to make eye contact. Note nonverbal messages such as body language. Finish listening before you begin speaking. Active listening greatly improves the likelihood that the correct message will be received. Written communication can easily be misinterpreted. Some techniques for quality written communication are accuracy. Absolute accuracy is paramount when one is recording in the legal document, especially like medical records. Pay attention to detail. Written documents should be descriptive. Information should be quantified whenever possible. Descriptive categories for physical conditions such as measurement, color, position, location, drainage, or condition. Then we have descriptive categories to document meetings, conferences, evaluations, or other interchanges such as time, setting, people present, issues or goals discussed, and direct quotes. An important factor, thoroughness. Provide complete information to help avoid communication breakdown and anticipate and answer relevant questions before they are asked. And conciseness. State necessary information clearly and briefly. Determine what facts are pertinent to enable the reader to understand the true message. When in doubt, and if appropriate, ask another party to read the message and provide feedback. Confidentiality and privacy must be observed. Be as judicious in handling written material as in handling any other form of communication. Think about today's technology. Everything has become electronically online. Some factors to remember are that computer-based communication can include emails, text messages, attachments, and chat rooms. These lack nonverbal cues to aid in communication. Be aware, communication via computer can often be retrieved even after it has been deleted. And clarify, it is important to ensure that the correct message is received. Communication is influenced by many factors, and one factor is the individual characteristics of oneself over a lifetime. We're going to talk about the 4 basic styles that are recognized by communication specialists. One communication style is assertive. The individual pronounces basic rights without violating the rights of others. They are able to state their wants, their needs, their desires, and their feelings using objective and direct comments. They display a style of positive declaration and confidence. It is the preferred communication style for the professional nurse. So to speak assertively, be sure of the facts, carefully consider the options, and exude confidence while making the observation, request, or point. Then we have the aggressive communication style. This individual will claim basic rights in ways that violate the well-being of others. They are commanding, dominant, and have a superior attitude. They make accusations that blame or put down others. They convey dominance and implies, and they have the inclination to start quarrels or fights. Another communication style is passive. They are influenced or acted upon without acting in return. They use apologetic words with hidden meanings. And they seem disconnected and they fail to say what is meant. Now we're going to cover passive-aggressive communication style. This individual will avoid direct confrontation. They tend to manipulate others to achieve their personal goals. They will appear to be honest but undermine others through gossip, playing the victim, and etc. They tend to win in situations by making others look bad. Development of truly effective communication necessitates understanding various circumstances that influence communication. We are going to discuss some of these influential circumstances. First, we're going to go over communication and gender differences. A plethora of observations indicate that men and women solve problems, make decisions, and communicate from different perspectives. Women tend to generally work towards compromise. Preserving relationships is a paramount importance to them. They seek to communicate with sensitivity towards how the information is being received, and they value the process of communication itself as a significant part of relationships. Men generally work towards winning. They focus on goals and more aggressively towards accomplishment. They communicate with a purpose to achieve an identified goal. They typically use communication as a tool to deliver information. Now, these differences have been recorded based upon research. Now we're going to talk about communication and generational differences. First, we're going to talk about traditionalists. The Great Depression and World War II were critical events at this time. They place a high premium on formality and the top-down chain of command use. They demand respect for mothers, including the use of formal titles, which is preferred. They're comfortable making decisions that are based on what worked best in the past. Then we have the baby boomer generation. They experienced the reshaping of corporate culture. They're highly competitive and willing to sacrifice to achieve success. They strive for recognition. They desire a personable style of communication. They desire a top-down organizational approach. And they place value on earning respect. Then we have Generation X. They are associated with the high divorce rate among their parents, working mothers, and the latchkey phenomenon. They're characterized as skeptics who value a balance in work and personal life. They value efficiency and may agree to work extra hours if the reason is deemed beneficial. Expectations are immediate, and communication is brief and direct. Then we have the millennial generation. These are the newest members of the workforce. They're highly collaborative and optimistic. They strive for a balance between work and home life, need a voice in organizational decision making, and they prefer communication that is framed in a positive manner. Let's continue with some influences that can affect communication. Okay, first is cultural diversity. A nurse needs to be sensitive to cultural differences. It's an integral part of their responsibility. There are obviously difficulties in potential language barriers, such as slang terms, um, stress that's associated with illness and or hospitalization actually adds to the potential for misunderstanding. Certain terms that we use. I mean, think about it. Many communication components do not carry the same meaning in various cultures. Look at direct eye contact, touch, and gestures. Interprofessional team communication can also be an influence. There are a variety of disciplines that are approaching healthcare from the unique perspective of the theories and therapies of the varied professions. Listening is essential for identifying the intended message of other disciplines. Frequent clarification and a sense of safety are paramount. And fundamental goal of all healthcare professionals is to provide quality patient care. Then we also have confidentiality and privacy. Breach of confidentiality and privacy through careless gossip has ethical and legal ramifications. Communication about confidential or personal patient issues must be controlled in all areas. This includes nurses' station, utility rooms, and etc. Let's talk about the dangers of social media. Healthcare. Related sites, chat rooms, blogs, forums, video sites provide an unparalleled opportunity to network, share, and problem solve healthcare issues. Patients retain the right to confidentiality and privacy in every medium. Nurses must be very careful in not using a patient's name or any other type of identifying information that could include a room number. Potential Board of Nursing actions for inappropriate use of social media can include unprofessional conduct, unethical conduct, moral turpitude, mismanagement of patient records, revealing a privileged communication, and or breach of confidentiality. And texting patient information. According to the Joint Commission in 2012, this practice is not acceptable. Receiving individual is not able to verify unequivocally the identity of the person sending the text. There is no way to make a copy of the original message to place in the permanent record. Anything that is sent electronically has the potential to be inadvertently misdirected and or intercepted. Proper use of social media can open venues of learning, career advancement, mentoring, and networking, enhancing the global perspective in your nursing career. Use this opportunity wisely and with consideration of permanence, present and future consequences, and the actual or potential impact of your postings. Let's think about this. There are no conflict-free work groups. Conflicts can be stressful. The pressure and demands of the workplace often generate conflicts among people that can seriously interfere with their ability to work together. The nature of conflict is the result of differences in goals or desires that are not good or bad. The fundamental to conflict are information and perception. One person has information that another doesn't have, or two individuals have different sets of information. People see things on the basis of their unique belief systems. There are beneficial consequences of conflict. You need to recognize talents and innovative abilities. It identifies an outlet for expression of aggressive urges. It introduces innovation and change. It diagnoses problems or areas of concern, and or it can establish unity. The harmful consequences of conflict can lead to negative effect on emotional and physical well-being. There's emphasis on personal welfare over that of the group. Diversion of time and energy from important goals, financial and emotional cost, and or personal fatigue. Maintaining an environment supportive of professional communication enables conflict to be handled appropriately with positive outcomes. Some skills that you may acquire to support professional communication and assist with conflict resolution include empathy. Feeling what the other person is feeling and seeing the situation as he or she sees it. Believing that the other person's feelings are valid, legitimate, and justified. Equality. Consider all participants in the process equal. Respect for individual difference is apparent. People will tend to be more comfortable in expressing themselves freely and openly. Openness. These are feelings and thoughts that are stated directly and honestly. There is no attempt to disguise real object of disagreement. Positiveness. Using agreement as a basis for approaching disagreements and impasses. Conflict is viewed as positive. And supportiveness. Feelings are expressed with spontaneity rather than strategy. It requires flexibility and a willingness to change personal opinions and or positions. Conflict is seldom created intentionally. It may occur because of the lack of awareness of how our own behavior contributes to interpersonal problems. The important first step is to recognize one's own conflict resolution style. The common conflict resolution styles can consist of avoidance. One person uses passive behaviors and withdraws from the conflict. Neither person is able to pursue goals. Then we have accommodation. This is where one person puts aside his or her goals in order to satisfy the other person's desires. Then we have force. This is where one person achieves his or her goals at the expense of the other person. Then we have compromise. This is where both people give up something to experience partial goal attainment. And then we have collaboration. This is where both people actively try to find solutions that will satisfy all goals. The second step for conflict resolution is to engage in active listening. This reduces the emotional charge from the situation. Active listening techniques include paraphrasing, reflecting, open questioning, acknowledging, summarizing, framing, and or reframing. And the third step is that all people involved must view their conflict as a problem to be solved mutually. Now we're going to talk a little bit about professional nursing and conflict. I'm going to go over some professional responses to verbal conflict. When a conversation is escalating, try to move to a private location. Speak in a normal tone of voice. Use I messages. Maintain eye contact throughout. Maintain an open body stance with your hands at your side or open towards the individual, but not invading the other person's space. Do not physically back away unless you perceive you are actually in physical danger. Offer explanations, but do not make excuses. If you say you'll take care of something or report something or change something, then do it. And here are some techniques how you can promote a professional nurse image. Use positive communication techniques. Provide a safe environment in which patients and or coworkers can ask questions and learn. Focus your energy towards solving conflict and maintain clear, open, and sensitive communication. This concludes part 2 and completes the lesson of effective communication and conflict resolution. If you have any questions related to course content, contact the instructor.